All right, we are back. This time we're actually in game number 2 of XGS season number 7, playday number 5. I'm Navigal, joined by Glitter. If you're just joining us, we got Mormon Battalion, we got Team SESH, we got Cafe, and Glitter, no surprise here, we got a Ying Ban up first.
Yeah, nobody wants to deal with that, right? Especially when you're having some of that vertical presence of the hatches and the skylight. Those Candelas just insanely huge. Of course, the next to fall is going to be the Monty. Great at taking up that real estate, and of course, in a post-plant scenario, just does not want to be dealt with. On the defense, a little bit of an off pick here for me. It is going to be the Wamai. Now, I get it, I see it, but it's definitely different.
I actually really like that, quite honestly. It's not the most impactful ban, in my opinion, but I think it does definitely have good value as a ban, especially if you remember back to last game, the player inside of Kochek who just won a singular round, I believe it was Swift did, if I'm not mistaken, where he just sat in Kochek with some of my magnets and just destroyed one of the rushes that Final Form wanted to do. So there definitely is great value in negating some of that utility denial. But I do fear for the fact that it does leave a couple of those major player defensive operators like the Valkyrie and like the Mira up. So I feel like we'll see a lot more defensive success here.
Attackers need to locate.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you. That Wamai ban is fun, it's interesting, and it takes away some of those vital components to what the defense is bringing. So, we started out in the bakery area on the first floor. No surprises there. I'm going to see the Valkyrie being brought out. Of course, we're going to utilize that intel, a little bit of area denial. This is smoke can be utilized for that post-plant scenario. And then Melusi, their recent change, getting her 4 Banshees has just made her an unstoppable force when trying to make some of those late round pushes. I like the setup for sure.
10 seconds left.
Melusi definitely has been a lot more impactful. I feel like before the buff, she was a great operator, but she kind of is at that point where she is, like you were saying, almost a must pick in most rounds. You can pretty much lock off any site, any entranceway from a distance and give you so much intel. It's kind of like, not as annoying version of a Fenrir, but it's still a very annoying operator to deal with because of the fact that while sure you're not blind, you are slowed down and there is sound cues given away towards where you're coming from. Now, for a moment there, it looked like Eli just ran outside, but no, it was actually just a Banshee that had been captured by the Brava. They'll have to deal with. So, great read here from Team Sesh bringing out that Brava to deal with some of this important utility.
Absolutely, and just like that, Melusi is already down and reduced to that 8 HP, just a fragment of the bullet to take her out, but maintains life in the one-shot, headshot game, still a viable option. Now, Grim, now they're starting to put the push onto the Warden here, holding on to the bottom of the white stair area. Shield gone, Grimby's out, no location being pinged here. So, oh, there it is. Does end up stepping into it. They know that he's there, and they're putting the pinch in on both sides of it, but they're taking their sweet time to do it. All that Grim gadgetry has been utilized, and no kill to come off of it.
Yeah, it definitely looks really scary here from Team Sesh, because they, like you were saying, have done some good utility usage, but they didn't capitalize on it. They've burned through almost all of their Grimbies. They've burned through all of their Hardbreeds. They've burned through both of their Brava drones. They're just running out of utility very quickly, and they've done some good steps of clearing utility. They haven't gotten map control out of it, however. So they are very much pressed for space right now, and they're running out of time to actually try and work something in their favor. And as the time continues to dwindle down, they're going to have to get frantic, and even more so now as Eli claims the first one on the Badger.
Does get traded out as TrevMax able to find Eli off the board, takes us into a 4-4, but no vertical presence to be had here by the attacking team. Ace gets taken off the board, but traded out immediately as Neil's going to take a siege down, but it is going to see Bravo finding the next headshot coming their way. It's now into a 3v2. We've got 43 seconds left, and the pressure is definitely on here. Twitch is sitting in the kitchen area. We've got Capital that is sitting inside of the bakery, and diffuser in hand, so we can't go for the plant. There it was. That was the equalizer. Unfortunate, finds the shot inside of the back. It's going to be a triple kill from TrevMac now as we find ourselves into a 1v2. It's all going to rest on the shoulders of Ward, who can't get in through that back freezer area. Going to be forced to go through that main lobby as low health Apatow and Twitch are going to go for the plant here. 12 seconds left. They're going to be able to stick it. He's going to put the pressure on to Warden, who takes a couple of pre-fires through, hoping to catch one lucky. He does have the health advantage here. But not going to mean much if he gets put a shot into his dome piece. He does get past it. There it is. Onto the head holes. Body shot's able to take him down.
Despite how dire that looked there at the end, that was still very much winnable for Exer if he had been able to actually get into the site without just being quickly shut down. But nonetheless, with how low those two players on Team SESH were, it was still very much winnable. But the biggest red flag from that round for me is the fact that TrevMac was just able to walk in through Bakery for free. While sure, the initial start was good for both teams because it was a direct trade back and forth, down to a 3-3. After that, there was a big gap inside of the Bakery portions of the map that he was able to exploit and just walk right in through. And as a result of that, MORMON Battalion got caught off guard because most of their focus was over towards Freezer, and then they lost control of the site. User was able to go down, and then the rest just was a little bit of a post-plan history. So, MORMON Battalion will opt to not reattempt that site as the late round got a little bit away from them there, so set their sights towards reading.
And of course, with that investment heavily into the roam game, 3 players up top, including the Intel Deny, Mute, and our favorite, Castle, coming out to make a difference here and start doing some of that funneling action that we were talking about earlier. Only one C4 on the board to be able to help facilitate that, but still kind of leaning heavy into that intel, right? We're seeing both Castle and Malusi bringing out those bulletproofs, which I think was probably going to be one of those reoccurring themes here on Cafe.
Well, initially, we're seeing not quite as much top floor presence as you would have liked to see from MORMON Battalion, but we've still got, I would say, enough to where it will slow down Team SESH effectively towards the middle round. Early round should be pretty free for them. They should be able to just walk right into the top of red and get some of that early control. But that big question is going to be how quickly can they force Eli out of Cocktail? Because if they can't force him out, they can't utilize their sledge effectively. If they can't utilize their sledge effectively, they will have a very tough time forcing people out of the site. And if they can't get people out of the site, then of course, they won't be able to win the round because they can't get the plant down. So they've got a lot to do, and they've already burned through a minute. So with a minute gone, they're starting to fall behind. They have not gotten much map control at all.
The devastating domino effect as you described it. Now, Pledge Drone able to take the main camp, which means they're going to be able to put some intel onto this player inside of the Cocktail, start to put some of that pinch move on, and there's the shots that go down, but X are able to find the kill onto Space as the sledge gets dealt with. A grenade from long downtown almost finds the mark, but it's going to be Eli to take the TK down with the body balance firmly now in hands of the defense, not able to chase this player out of the Cocktail and effectively just giving up a ton of that map control. Flaws to find Neo, Exer to find a second as TrevMac goes down, Exer on a third for a flawless round for the defense, and that's the way that you hold 3F.
What did I say? I said they needed to clear out Cocktail. They tried. They really tried. But their intel and their team play and their coordination with the swing was just very much off. They didn't have anybody on the east side cutoff on the windows. They didn't have the good timing with walking down White Hallway paired with the bar jump in. And as a result, they fed ones to Exer. And when you feed ones to Exer inside of Cocktail, that is what happens. It does not go well at all. And then, when he started to get pressured, even better, because they had so much man advantage and so much control still, his teammates were able to rotate to support him. When they did that, it just continued getting even worse until it culminated in a flawless round for Team SESH, or for Team MORMON Battalion, rather. So great stuff on there. Great response after how round 1 went.
Yeah, it was that devastating domino effect that you were talking about, and it played out in real time. So now, take it up to the 3rd floor. A little bit of a different showing here. Some similar operators, but here's the person we've been talking about. It's the Mira. She's going to be brought to help defend that ticket area which is, of course, that vital, that critical push point for the attack team. Step one, hey, ticket, right? Suss out, of course, that roam game below. But they're going to put a huge focus on making sure that they're at least not going to get it for free. And I love here that they're bringing out both the Nomad and the Gridlock, right? So really going to be putting some focus on supporting the Mira being able to stay in position, or excuse me, the Mira, to the players inside of Ticket, holding that position and not getting flanked from the red stair area. And I think that's the right call here.
I don't think it'll be that effective, honestly. Just looking at the lineup from Team SESH here, this does not scream at me full clear. This screams at me we want to try to rush through the east windows. They have no hard breach. They have nothing to clear piano other than a couple smoke grenades, which isn't going to, you know, be all that effective when you're working against those mirror windows like you were talking about. They don't even have anything like an Ash to get rid of those mirror windows. So this just tells me that they're not even going to try to focus on it at all. They're going to try to go for white stairs. They're going to try to go for direct on the cocktail. And they're going to walk right into XGS, as Trevmac will be the first one to fall in this round. Now, sure, he did some damage, but despite that fact, XGS is still persisting. TK killed himself to a Claymore. What just happened there? Everything going Mormon Battalion's way right now. And all of the effort that Team SESH had put in towards trying to take white has just failed.
Yeah, miserably. Yeah, give me a little salt, give me a little pepper. I'm going to go ahead and eat my words here. I didn't realize we didn't even have the hard breach to go take the ticket area. It's a 4v1 now. It's all on Gridlock's shoulder. And not even going to get the tracks up in the right spot. Looking to potentially try to start equalizing the scoreline, but a C4 is going to be delivered from downtown to say goodnight and give the defense another round. Puts them up 2-1 as we head into 4.
Mormon Battalion, I mean, they looked like they kind of trolled round one away, quite honestly. Through these last 2 rounds, their gun skill just looks far better than Team SESH does right now. Everything that they're doing is working. You've got Exer going crazy, XGS going crazy, and this is what they're known for. Back when the core of this roster was with Wanted Goons, you had Eli who spent this stint on their ACAD roster. Of course, Toaster was on the team, might even still be on the ACAD for all I know. Exer's over there, XGS. That team was known for their gun skill and their free play. And that's what they're doing. They're bringing that core value and idea, and they're still translating. And it's worked. Team SESH have no answers right now to the aggression and the craziness that Mormon Battalion are bringing out. They're trying to play more structured, and it's just not working right.
So then, Nom, here's the question, right? What becomes the win condition for Team SESH? Because if it's just going to be on gun skill and they're not counter-stratting, they're going to find themselves in a really tough space really quite quickly here. We do head back down to the bakery, and we are seeing some adaptations come out, right? IQ is being brought out to help suss out some of that gadgetry. We are seeing Flores being utilized here for something, right? He's great for getting rid of that extension util. Maybe the main focus on trying to get that Warden off of the white stair area. But yeah, begs the question, what then becomes the win condition outside of stopping Exer and XGS?
I think the biggest thing you have to look at is their early rounds. They're trying to play structured, yes. Like I said, I will backtrack here just a little bit. Specifically in the late round, they're trying to play more structured, kind of that full force execution. But in the early rounds, just look right here. It's a minute in, and they're still droning the top floor on a basement site. They have no presence in the building yet. Nothing. There is not even a soul on the top floor. We burned a minute. They have no control to work with, and you need that control so because of this lineup. They're playing all of their eggs with this vertical destruction basket. They're trying to go for a full top down. They're trying to rely on TK being effective on the buck. And you see, they're just now starting to get suspected. None of the skeleton he has had any value yet. And they're way behind right now. They have no picks. They need something to spur them back in terms of time management.
be found here. They do, of course, take now in themselves into the second floor, starting to put some of that vertical pressure on. You can hear that skeleton key starting to go to work here. But as he said it, we find ourselves in the last minute 15. It's time starting to wind down. It waits for nobody, and unfortunate first kill is going to be Xer finding Badger off the board, and that's going to be some of that intel that you were kind of relying on, now gone and off the board. You still, of course, have the Dokkaebi, but that only has one call left. It's only going to be effective one more time for your second bit of the push. It's the man advantage that now sits in favor of Mormon Battalion yet again, and they are completely dug in with a roam game. The Valkyrie about to become, yeah, there it is. Eli finding one, finding two. Boy, put themselves into a really tough spot in a 1v5, looking at another flawless round.
Once again, that's now 2 out of the last 3 rounds that have been flawless for Mormon Battalion. And it gets back to what I was saying about their early rounds. Their early rounds are very much leaving a lot to be desired. There's not a lot going on for them in the first minute. And that's so much wasted potential that you could be using to set yourself up for a more structured and more well-timed late round. Because sure, they have an idea, they have a goal of what they want to do and where they want to push from. But if they aren't using their time wisely to set it up properly, then it's just not going to work, because you're going to have to skip steps. You're going to have to just try and rush into the site. You're going to have to just try and work some sort of miracle. And that's not a strategy that is reliable. And we've seen it now proven here through the last 3 rounds that when they try to do it, it doesn't work, because Mormon Battalion are just sitting back and playing the advantage that they gain as the time goes down. And they're capitalizing on Team SESH's mistakes, winning them rounds in the process.
Now they're going to lean heavily into it, Nam, right? They're bringing out more area denial. We are going to, of course, see the castle being used again, but it's going to be the smoke and the Goyo now to help really solidify that time waste. So really just leaning in to the fact that they aren't having that quick entry, that early game, a real kind of like black and white scenario to what we saw in the first match of the day, where it was all early entry, all quick action in the beginning, and then a slowdown on the late game. So a little bit of a switch up here, not really playing out in the favor of Team SESH. And yet again, we're seeing the same sort of thing, right? It's 30 seconds in, and we're just now starting to get to the top of the building, getting some drones in, maybe starting to take some of that vertical control. Nobody up, no, we do. Castle is up there with Warden to be able to stall that. So a minute in, that's going to be Xer to find space left, or space off the board. Early body bounce going to shift back in favor of the Mormon Battalion.
Yet again, another situation where the early round is a struggle for them. While, yes, Team SESH did initially start to take a little bit more space into the building, it once again, they get found out, and then they don't really have an answer to it. Right now, they're trying to get some gadget work. They're trying to find a response towards Mormon Battalion, but it's not going to go well. There's a good trade, however, as TK will fall, but Neo's right behind him, and now he's on the doorstep of bombs. He can walk right in here and spot another player, potentially on white stairs. So a little bit more good information going Team SESH's way. A much better mid-round from them here, setting themselves up a little bit better for some success.
But they still, of course, got to rely or deal with some of those Goyle canisters that have been set up. It's the body bounce sitting in favor of Mormon Battalion as they start to kind of sit back, and it's a low health scenarios. The Nomad has been put into that 74 HP range, not necessarily out of the fight just yet, and kind of get into a hold pattern here. The defense doesn't need to throw bodies. They know exactly where the attack is pushing from, and they still have vertical pressure set or presence set up. They still haven't been flushed off of that 3rd floor, so going to be able to hold it from the top as well.
Into the final 50 seconds, there's a good down from Neo, walking up white stairs. Not sure how no sound was given away there to the defense, but nonetheless, the effect is felt. Eli gets a trade, hover right back onto Trevmac. But while all this has happened, Badger has been able to walk right into the site and get that plant down. Bad news is that Neo is covers on such low HP to not be very effective. 1 kill going the way of Mormon Battalion, and a 2nd kill going the way of Mormon Battalion. It's yet another defensive round win, this time a little bit closer, but still the result is the same. they will take round 5 straight to the bank.
That's right. So we find ourselves now in a 4-1, right? One more round before the half gets set up. And we can even argue, though, that even though like the scoreline not necessarily indicative of the dominant fashion that Mormon Battalion has been playing on, but if Team Sesh finds another round, right, just one more, then they hit the quota. They did the standard and get to go try to do it on defense. Now, will they be able to change it around? Will they be able to switch up the strats a little bit and play a little bit more proactive instead of kind of reactive, how this whole second map has been going? Man, I'm not sure. It will be definitely something that needs to be decisive to make that momentum switch, for sure.
I'm really scared right now for Team Sesh's chances in this game. That's a little bit of a tongue twister right there for you. But nonetheless, I feel like part of it, yes, is their early round. Another part of it is a little bit of their missed time. But also, I've been noticing a consistent lack of dedicated hard breach runners and a consistent lack of utility play, whether it be something like their Lion that they're bringing out. They've been using their Brava drones well, I will say. Some of their utility usage has been very good, but they've also just not been utilizing some of their operators to their fullest potential. And it makes me wonder, if you're not going to use the operator, then why bring it? Because they're not bringing hard breach. They're relying more on these utility operators, like the Grim, like the Capital, like the Lion that I just mentioned a moment ago. And that's good in concept, but if you aren't going to capitalize off the utility that you're bringing by taking space, by getting kills, by forcing players out of their position, then the entire strategy that Team Sesh are bringing out has to be called into question.
Agreed. So do have a little bit interesting pick here. It is going to be the Amaro being brought out, and I like it, right? It gives you several options, pushing yourself up into cocktail if you've taken the space or got the cross side set up. I mean, you could do the Capital smoke from Skylight if you've got the proper support. But yet again, we are all outside and a whole minute has gone by, and now you've lost them. The sledge is gone, sussed out, taken off the rappel. So they are going to send Amaro in through the hatch. Mira has already been taken down, puts the body balance in favor of Team Sesh here, as they're looking to get active towards the Mira windows. Both of them negated with that push. Warden the next to fall as Space is able to find Xer off the board. And now man advantage sits pretty in favor of Team Sesh, who looks wildly different in round number 6 than they have the entire time. Flaws with the C4 onto Badger is going to get us a little bit closer in the body balance as the Dokkaebi does go down, but still going for the plant. No more C4s to be had here to deny from the verticality. They're going to go ahead and stick it, Nam. We're in a post plant.
Indeed, we are. The good news is Trevmec is down and bleeding out inside of Piano, so it's a 2v2 here for the defense to work with on this retake, and Cassie as well is joining up and being a lot closer, but here comes a shotgun swing. Face misses and loses his life because of it. What a huge miss by the Amaru there. And now it leaves TK all alone outside on the rappel. Can he even see the diffuser? I don't believe he can. There's the jump out. No! TK is sitting on the rappel, wins the round. Playing passively seems to be the solution there for Team Sesh. And they went from dominating that round to scraping by, but nonetheless, the point stands, and they keep themselves in this game.
Okay, and that looked like a lot better. That looks like the Team Sesh that you've watched over the years being played, right? It was coordinated. They got the crossfires set up. They were able to get themselves into sight. And yes, they were losing people, but they were still able to get the plant down and win the round for the team, which means they hit their second on attack. Their quota is done data. This is a defining round for both teams, right? Mormon Battalion, if they take it, they secure themselves up in the scoreline by a huge difference, keep that momentum in their favor. But if Team Sesh can find one on defense here to start us out, I feel getting us one closer in that scoreline, this is going to get a little bit more competitive because it's going to start to put pressure on the Mormon Battalion as Team Sesh just has to hold back onto the defense.
Team Sesh definitely has to be careful here, however, because like we saw them do on attack, they played Amaru, played those heavy utility lineups. Mormon Battalion is well known for doing the same thing. little bit of a different style here being brought out from Mormon Battalion. You've got something like Flores, you got the Gridlock instead, but still, there are plenty of options available for them. They've got plenty of items to deal with something like Castle Barricades, like Mirror Windows. And they've even got some burn utility as well. They got a couple flashes available to them, got some of those track stingers that you can use to burn out and push players out of position. So, plenty of different counters available for the attack. What's being brought out by this defensive lineup, and I really look forward to seeing how they utilize it.
Well, I'm going to start to see some of those tracks that you talked about, setting up that flank watch patrol on the red stairs here as they open up into ticket. Just a clockwork bit of attack strategy here, using that Flores like to talk about to get rid of some of that extension util. About ready to make the drop in and start to put some pressure on, right? Get some pressure onto that mirror. Now, they did bring the Ash along as well, so they are going to be able to turn that, crack that mirror and be able to gain a little bit of that real estate. See if she's going to be able to get herself inside of there. It's a rotate down, actually. She's going to start to come up from the bottom, a little bottom-up player here.
Now, the one big difference from the team session attack and the Mormon Battalion attack is, well, not the fact that they lost the kill, but the fact that they are making progress. They've started using utility. They've got themselves a trade back to keep themselves up and kicking in this round, to keep themselves fighting. But not only that, without having to really risk too much, they were able to set themselves up a bulkhead and a way into the map with the ace, with the gridlock. They set themselves up a way in. We saw Cassia take advantage of that by walking into Scar rather, and finding a quick trade onto Exige after losing the opening death. Now, we are down to a minute, so are starting to fall just a little bit behind, but they are initially, or at least finally, starting to take some map, set themselves up for a late round exit.
So they've got that ticket presence and the control onto the window, so waiting for a little bit of that rotate. Starts to get into the Scar area. Sees the mirror barricade, and instead is going to opt to take out the Aruni shield instead. Try to get rid of potentially any the Jaeger devices that were near there. Eli to find the kill on the Trevmac is going to put the man advantage over to Mormon Battalion here as they start to make this final push in. It's 30 seconds left, and we've got now put ourselves into an equalized situation, but Toaster going to take TK off the board and to solidify some of that man advantage as they now find themselves in a 3v2. All the pressure now onto Jaeger and onto the Runic. Has the DMR in hand, so devastation from a distance, but not able to find the kill. And then the shot's in. It's the TK that rings out, and space goes down. Neo to take Toaster off the board, and attackers are going to find that in the 1.
That was almost so scary for Mormon Battalion. In that late round, it was pretty much 50-50. And then Eli swings in to New Balcony, finds himself a kill, gets the man advantage for the attack. The only bad news is he's not ready from the swing out from inside of Cocktail. He nearly got punished heavily for it. The good news is the guns on Mormon Battalion were so good that they didn't have to scramble too much to go reclaim the diffuser. That round wasn't nearly as close as it might have looked in that 1v1. They threw away a body because of that TK, which would have made things even more easily winnable for them because that player was trapped in bathroom. The second player could have gone to get the diffuser, and the other player could have covered. But nonetheless, the result is still the same. They win the round, they put themselves up by 3, and they've proven that they are very much competent when it comes to both defending and attacking on this map.
Yeah, a little bit of a tough situation now for Team Sesh, right? That was one of those rounds that you definitely need to be present in, and unfortunately just was not the case. So they're going to switch it up, still going to rely on that slowdown game. So we can see operators dictate pace here, tuber out, stopping maybe potentially some of that hatch play, right away that location with the footprints of that. The freeze going through from below. Castle, of course, yet again set up the hold onto that 3rd floor. And then one of my newest favorite operators right now, it is the Melusi. And those critical push points, especially when you're trying to push in and take that control up in 3F, could just be absolutely dire, especially when you're bringing somebody like a Blitzbong who's there to take that quick blitz.
I have to think that we see some focus being put here towards mining for Mormon Battalion. They've got the blitz. they've got to think of this. Really seems like it could be a fast take on the attack. I would not be too shocked if you just see them run down red and try to get the bomb down. The only problem is there is something like the tube route. There are a couple Melusi Banshees like you're talking about that will be a little bit of a thorn in their side if they try to do that, but there isn't really anything that is considered hard and denial other than that smoke. And with how open of a map that cafe is, especially on the mid floor, those smoke canisters aren't always that effective because if you miss, there's a lot of area that isn't covered, and that gives a lot of space for the attack to actually just sit and try to get this plan down. Here come the smoke grenades. Here comes the initial jump in from the Blitz. XGS is just going to run right into Train. Cassia will join him on the coverage, and they are just going to go right in here. They're just going to commit to getting this plant down. Not only that, but they've got control from above as well. Everything going the way of the attack. The Blitz will just run right at Neo. It'll be scary enough to force him back, but not scary enough to stop him from getting a kill. Exer will quickly trade back, so man advantage stays in the attack, especially as we get towards the lower portions of time. Smoke is well working back up, but Trevmac will actually be the next one to get the next kill. Down to a 3-on-3. The time still ticks away, however. The defense needs to go quickly here, or they are just going to run out of chances and options. TK will push up, looking to try and stick this diffuser. Looking too far away from it, and he doesn't want to commit without the safety of that reinforced wall. Exer will kill Trevmac, and another one from above as Eli has the coverage with the IQ scanner, and it leaves Neo all alone without any time to spare, past the point of no return, and it's match point for Mormon.
Wow, what a beautiful push. What a huge call by the IGL, right? They get their drones in, they take an extra second to make sure that there are 4 members up top holding onto that third floor, which means only one in sight. And when it's a 1v1 with a Blitz, I'm putting my money on the shield almost every single time. It wasn't the shield that took them out, but it was the distraction that they needed. They get in, they take the kill, they have some top floor presence, and then it's just waste that time. Take a couple of pop shots, move back a little bit farther, take a couple more of those shots, move back a little farther until the round ends, and then they find themselves now on that coveted match point scenario, and we're seeing a repeat nom of what we saw in map number 1.
Certainly seems that way. Hey, Glitter, one team just running away with it at this point. Although, then again, last map, I would argue, looked a lot closer despite the scoreline, because there was a lot of rounds where Final Form looked like they at least had a chance in the round. But through and through, Mormon Battalion have looked like the better team. Their coordination is better, their tactics are better, their positioning seems better, and of course, most importantly, their time management is better. Team Sesh took way too long to get back to the site there after the first kill came in and the shield jumped in through the mining window. There should have been somebody immediately ready to refrag and to watch those jump ins when they heard the Blitz jump through that window. And they weren't. So that meant Mormon Battalion got free picks, they got site control, they got the bomb down. And then, like we've seen so many times, when one team gets the advantage, it just continues flooding in their favor.
Yeah, it's the same thing that you mentioned on the first time we watched Cafe, right? It turns it in from a coordinated hold up top to that frantic, oh my gosh, the plant's going down. We don't have any vertical presence, even though we're in the vertical presence area, and they're able to just walk away with it. It was frantically trying to get back to the bomb site, no position to get any sort of long arm. It was a great utilization of the smokes, forcing them back up to the stairs, but it was reversed around. IQ able to hold on to that post plant, take the person off of the kill, and just walk away with it. Now we need to see, on this tech pause, we need to see Team Sesh in there having that Fabian-esque style talk. You're losing your ones, you're giving up that map presence, you're not refragging, and it's why we're down 6-2 now. We have to see him not be perfect for 4 in a row, or this one is over and done early, just like the first.
I mean, at least it means a short night for you and me. And go on to other things. But I'm with you. I would have much rather have seen a close game here, because neither of these games really felt all that competitive, sadly. I really hate what it means for Team Sesh's chances in XGS Season 7, because going down 0-3 here, especially dropping points to a team like Mormon Battalion, who have also had a little bit of a slow start, it doesn't bode well for their chances, because remember, you've got to finish in the top 5 to even have a chance. And if you can't pick up points against some of the teams that are currently ranked lower on the standings, then you're going to find yourself just sitting at the bottom, which they're currently in. So, it's just, this game meant a ton to them, especially after how yesterday went. And I don't see a way right now where they come back to this.
Okay, 6-2. We're in a top win condition here. They're bringing some great operators, right? They're having some great strats. Like 4 up top is not like unheard of, right? That's a good strat. A super huge, strong vertical presence. What then, Nam? What can Team SESH do? What is the turning point that's going to allow them to not get the quick, easy win, the round win, right? You rush in or you spawn peek and get a couple of kills. What is the win condition for them to bring this specific game back into contention?
I think the biggest thing that you have to look at is how can we punish the Mormon Battalion playstyle? What can we do to slow them down and catch them off guard? Because, yes, like you're saying, they have good ideas, but they're I won't necessarily say the wrong ideas, but I think they would go get better against a different style of team. I think Team SESH need to adapt here, and they need to bring more lineups that are dedicated, like you see right here, to catching Mormon Battalion off guard when they try to be aggressive, when they try to do some of these plays that they're well known for, like just running up a staircase, dropping a hatch, something like that. Something like jumping in a window like you saw last round. Something like this Frost, see right here, is a great counter to that. Bringing maybe a Legion would be good here. Maybe even a Goya. There's so many great trap operators that you can incorporate into your lineup to catch Mormon Battalion off guard and kind of stunt this wave that they're riding.
I think I think you're absolutely correct, and maybe the Frost be one of those difference makers here. It's here. It's match point scenario. Team SESH got to be perfect for 4 in a row, Nam, or this one will be over and done. On the defense, they did bring that devastation of the DMR, right? So a little bit of that long-range capabilities. I like it. Everybody down into sight this time, except for well, I mean, basically, it's just the first floor extension, which is, of course, standard, right? Still have that warden who's playing that main corridor, that white stair area. It's a good defensive setup. That's not been a problem at all. Let's see if they're going to be able to capitalize and stop this vertical game from going on here. They've got 2 dedicated to it, as the Ram and the Buck are both on the board here.
Seems like Mormon Battalion have immediately reposition their attacking strategy for this round. Team SESH have brought more of a lineup that is dedicated towards holding horizontally, But what Mormon Battalion are doing is they're completely circumventing that by playing more for the vertical. They're bringing out something like Eli on the Ram, like Cassia on the Buck, and they've realized that Team SESH only have 1 C4 to try and stop this play. There is not a lot they can do to challenge this vertical besides retaking up a staircase or something like that. And with how far down Team SESH are on the knockout, that's not something that they're likely going to do. And it gets even worse as Exer gets the first pick, not even from the vertical, but from outside of the map.
Not only that, but it's that late round pick as well. That's the late round impact player as well, the smoke off the board. So none of that first pick round. But look at this. The person we said who was going to be one of those impactful players, the operator Frost, is going to find 2. So that is going to give the man advantage over to Team SESH, and with 55 seconds left, starts to play out in their favor a little bit. Mormon Battalion going to need to find one to equalize to get themselves set up and ready for a plant scenario. But first, they got to go get the diffuser.
Attackers recovered the bomb diffuser.
Yeah, they definitely still have a lot of work to be done here. But they aren't necessarily in a terrible spot. They've still got a little bit of utility to work with. They got a couple smoke grenades, but they don't have the body of Exer still alive to help with these gunfires. They'll be watching the final few seconds of this round from the grave. Seems like the play for Mormon Battalion might just to be walk down white stairs here. The toast will disconnect, and now it leaves Cassie all alone in a 1v4. This round, it seems like it might be exactly what Team SESH need to try and get themselves back into it. And TK will pat his stats as he walks out from kitchen. Ends that round off with a little bit of a splash there. Team Sesh staying alive.
Yeah, that's huge too, right? I mean, that just looked like a different team sesh right there. They brought a whole new lineup, and even though they didn't account for that verticality, they got some kills before the vertical nature could become a problem. Taking two people outside or before they were able to even get into the map. So we talked about that being the one-off, right? That's not the win condition, is getting the spawn peak or getting that kill that's still outside of the building. But they were able to hold on and looked pretty good on that round. Will it be enough to do it for 3 more times? Yeah.
It definitely looked better. I will agree with you there. It looked much better from them. They didn't try to do too much. Their positioning was better. I think overall their timeliness was better of when they chose to get aggressive. The one big thing still that I want to see is on a site that doesn't play as well to being bunker heavy like Kitchen can, where you just sit back and try to play safe as much as you can. Can they stop the fast-paced takes that Mormon Battalion like to do? Because on a site like Kitchen, fast play doesn't work quite as well. You could still get away with it. Don't mind, or don't get me wrong there, but it just doesn't work quite as well as it will on a site like Reading, like we've already seen before. Here on this site, actually, I think it was Mining, but nonetheless, still same floor. They can get away with these shield plays a lot more effectively because you're a lot more exposed directly to the site from the outside of the map.
So we're gonna have to see a switch up of strats here for the second floor. Last time we saw a whole dedication. I mean, 4 players all the way up top holding the verticality, and you're right, they got in there quick. But this time, the operators that we're seeing brought, it's leaning more into what you said the win condition was. Bring some players that are gonna kind of stop that, interrupt it, a little bit of chaos, controlled chaos here. It's the Malusi, the Frost, and the Goyo being brought out here. So they're definitely making sure that they can slow them down, especially on this second floor area. I like the switch up.
Well, as we still await the ending of this matchup, which will likely be coming soon here as Mormon Battalion look to claim some of that momentum that they've been building throughout the mid portions of the round. I have to wonder here, do Mormon Battalion try to just get things over with quick? Last time we were on the mid floor, they really wanted to go fast. They brought that blitz. They committed to a rush. And like we saw teased there in the operator selection from Team Sesh, they're bringing more of those trap operators to slow that down. Mormon Battalion, up to this point, have done a good job at reading what Team Sesh want to do, but I have to wonder, will that continue to go on here?
I think that's going to really rely on how we're set up, right? Are we going to send everybody up to the third floor again to make sure that we hold on to that verticality, or we're going to have a little bit of more investment into the roam, into the anchor, right? Seeing players push in and take that bottom up approach while still having that vertical presence around and active. I mean, it's just that we're seeing Team Sesh be more reactive than proactive, and if they want to win 3 more in a row, then that's the part we're going to have to see the switch on, right? They got those 2 early kills outside of the building. Not going to be able to do that every round, so going to have to rely on something a little bit different as we come in to this potential final round.
Protect your bombs from being defused by attackers.
All right, well, we are back in game now. Everybody's back in, hopefully stably connected to the lobby. We'll see if it happens again, hopefully not. Nonetheless, back down to the mid floor. I'm really interested to see why Team Sesh keeps taking out this dock, because it doesn't really have much effect on these rounds. That kind of gets back to what I was saying earlier with some of the lineup selections on the attack. If you're going to bring an operator like that, you really need to be able to account for the fact that you're going to get full value out of it. Because at this point, there have been a multitude of rounds where operators that they've been bringing haven't had a ton of rounds. We haven't seen much play from the Goyo. We haven't really seen much effect from the canisters that he brings out. Vulcan canisters. Haven't really seen much from those Vulcan canisters to this point, at least. So maybe we get a little bit of effect from them here, but I'm just saying based off of what we've seen of this, I just don't feel like some of these operators are as impactful as they could be.
I'd agree with you. Doc is definitely the cheese op. He's very site specific, right? There's very niche places where you're going to bring a Doc out. And holding up on the third floor, maybe it's accounting to have yourself maybe like an extra person. Somebody goes down, you're able to bring them back up and still maintain that presence. But I'd agree with you. It's not potentially the right call. And we're all for back up onto the third floor, leaving only the mute down inside of sight again. Now, a little bit more dedication to opening it up, right? They've got some of that flooring open. They're definitely trying to be more impactful than they were the first, but not going to be much of that rush that we saw on the first attempt for the mid floor here. A little bit more of a nod towards nostalgia here, some traditional Siege players being operated on.
I feel like this might be a bait and switch from Mormon Battalion. They're acting like they're going to take the top floor here. They're initially taking the top floor here, but they don't really have much to play off of the top floor. They don't have a lot of verticals. They only have a couple of super shorties to play. Now they are going to lose Siege in the process, so at this point you kind of have to commit to clearing it out. Otherwise, you're just going to give all that away for naught. Nonetheless, it didn't really seem like that would have been the right play for Mormon Battalion here, as they had more of a lineup that was focused on a horizontal direct take. Like I was saying, they're kind of trapped here. They have to clear these players out, because if they don't, they're sure to die to those vertical holes working against them.
Absolutely, and Doc gonna utilize one of those stims, so finally does get some of that impact there. Gonna force him out with a grenade, do a little bit of damage, but that's the full stim back up again. That 145 health area, absolutely huge. To be able to maintain and play life, still hold on to that critical push point up top. So not usually the operator we see being brought here, but definitely being effective. It's going to be TK and space to take 2 off the board. Now puts us into a 2-4, a 4-1, and Defender's going to win that pretty handily. Timeout working in their favor as they were able to switch some of that momentum and get us a little bit closer.
Yeah, like I was saying, I don't think that's necessarily as much as Team Sesh had the right call. I think it's more Mormon Battalion had the wrong call. Their lineup wasn't really conducive to taking the top floor and doing a full clear. I mean, sure, they had something like the gridlock, but that doesn't really help you with actually taking space on the top floor. That more just like covers your back when you do take that space. They didn't have much of like an Ash or a Jackal or like a vertical operator like a Buck to really assist with that clear. So it just kind of didn't really have any claws to bear when they tried to do it. And when they didn't have really anything going for them, Mormon Battalion just tried to take gunfights, and Team SESH were ready for it, because they were able to sit back safely behind their reinforcements and behind the utility that they had set up, and just wait for Mormon Battalion to come to them. And when they did come to them, all the gunfights went the way of the defense, and it was a pretty decisive round as a result.
So it takes us 2 away from tying it up. The end of regulation looming closer here. Head back up to the third floor and gonna kind of still rely on that same sort of principle, sans the Goyo. No Goyo to be had this time, but Castle, you know, the Aruni, the Frost, still gonna lean into that same sort of gameplay here. And on the other side of it, they're not switching up. They're comfortable with the attack style. And in the third floor essence area, this is a great attacking lineup, right? Get your intel, stop the flank. The only thing that's missing is the thing that was missing quite a bit when Team SESH was on the attack, is they don't have any of that hard shit again.
Not only that, but they don't really have much soft destruction either. That's a big problem. When you're coming up against something like the Frost, like the Castle, there's just, again, it just seems like these attacks from both teams don't really have the right read on what they want to do with the top floor. They don't really have the right read on how they want to clear these top floor defense. Now, it's a good find with one of those grenades catching not only the Bruni gate, but also one of those castle barricades, giving themselves a little bit more longevity when it comes to working their way through the tight stairs. But a similar problem is starting to arise for Mormon Battalion here on this top floor site from when we were in the first half. They, once again, have burned over a minute, and they have very little control to work.
Okay, so minute and 40 left on the board. We sit 5-all on both sides of it. You'll see some of those tracks start to come to flank in the red area. Dokeby call does go out. So you're able to start to suss out where the heck these defenders are, especially the Grim canister as well, and that's going to amount to the first kill, right? Eli finds TK off the board, and that's going to give the body balance and some of that real estate now into the favor of Mormon Battalion, and because the castle barricade is up, able to take that space and still remain fairly safe.
Yeah, Eli's back in the spot where he had some good success in another previous round. Exit with another one. It's all falling apart here for Team SESH. It seemed like it might go their way for another round, but it's Cassia to end out the game with 2 kills of his own. And all of that hard work for Team SESH, well, it ends up being for naught as they lose 7-4, and Mormon Battalion claim their very first win of this group stage.
Man, it seemed like that was going to be another one of those slow rounds where it's like, what in the world are we going to do? But really, it was just all set up, right? It was looking towards that 3, 2, 1 execute. And as soon as that first kill went through and they were able to take that real estate at the top of heaven there, then, man, it just did. They all pushed in at the same time, able to find a ton of kills and flawlessly end that round. It was a valiant attempt by Team SESH. Mormon Battalion coming out on top, 7-4, and finding their first.
Much better showing there from Mormon Battalion. Overall, they just seemed more on point with what they wanted to do than against when they played against Makers and SSG Academy. So that's a good little rebound for them after having a day off to think things through and see what they could change up. Now, of course, it is worth noting that they still have some things to work on. I feel like they need to work on a little bit of their overall reads when it comes to attacking different sites. But I think that is just kind of a general thing when it comes to Cafe that we've seen today, is that some of these teams don't really have the right read on what it is that the defense is doing on specific sites. But generally, still, again, the big point is Mormon Battalion show that there are some good things that they can build off here heading into their future matches.
Yeah, and we've got, speaking of future matches, got some good ones still coming up for you this evening. That, for us, though, however, is done data. Whiskey Glitter and Namako going to be out for the evening. It was so great to catch with you, and that last one,
man.
quite a bit more fun than, of course, the first round we watched. It was blood, starting to have a bit of that comeback, a valiant attempt, but just not enough inside of Team SESH.
Well, that is it, like you said, for you and me. But we got 2 more games. We got 2 new casters coming in right after the break, so don't go anywhere.